Start to listen. You're watching Kimmy Speaks.
Forgive is a term that occurs over 53 times in the New King James Version alone, in a total of 45 verses. And we see that forgive is a very important term, it's a very important action, but it seems like it's the hardest thing to struggle with. We see, if we read our Bibles, we see so many instances where God constantly forgives the people of their transgressions against Him. As they repent and turn away, He forgives them and takes them back. And it's difficult because it's like, although we see that, although we feel that, although we, as Christians, we know that it is the very fact that we are forgiven, that we are here, that we are adopted into the family, that Christ paid the very penalty, was the ultimate sacrifice so that we could be forgiven. Because if we kept trying to do it our own way, it just wouldn't work, as we saw in the Old Testament. So, it's Kimmy Speaks, and I'm glad that you guys are here today. Forgiveness actually was a hard term to talk about. If I make an honest confession, forgiveness is something I struggle with. Let me make an honest confession. Forgiveness is a very hard thing. There'd be times when I would feel as though I've forgiven someone, but I always question if I actually forgave them, even though I felt like I said, I forgive this person for what they did. Or sometimes it would be, I'd feel inside of myself that I've forgiven this person, for the simple fact of maybe I'm talking to them again, or maybe I pick up their phone call, maybe I've seen them on the street and I've waved hi, and maybe my first inclination wasn't to think of that thing they did. So then I make the assumption. I would make the assumption that I've forgiven the person. So sometimes I would feel as though I've forgiven the person. I'd feel as though inside of my heart I forgave the person. I forgave them for what they did. Sometimes it would be that I feel as though I'd forgiven them because they'd call me and I'd pick up the phone. And although I'd feel some type of hurt still about the situation, I'd still talk to them, you know. Or they need me for something, and I'd say, you know what, I'll help them with that thing. And so, of course, I felt as though I felt like I'd forgiven them. And then there'd be times where maybe they did something to me and reminded me of the thing that they did that I thought I'd forgiven them about, and I'd be upset all over again. So I'd question, have I really forgiven this person? And what is forgiveness? Because I would think that sometimes I would make the assumption that forgiveness was, I've forgiven them for what they did, I've erased the whole situation, and now I can get along happily as if nothing happened. And sometimes it would be very hard, because it would be these wounds I would have that, although I felt as though I'd forgiven that person, there'd be even different people who inflict the same kind of things upon wounds, or inflict the same type of things. And I question, you know, have I really forgiven them? So we see forgive, like I said, mentioned just 53 times. That's a lot. In 45 verses. And so the first instance where we see forgive, right, is in Genesis 50, verse 17. And this is what it says. Thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespass of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. Now please forgive the trespass of the servants of the God of your father. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. We encounter, we have to forgive in our families, where we have a sibling or a parent or cousins. We just have family issues where it's like you have to forgive there, you know? Then we have in Exodus, where it says, Exodus 10:17, which says, now therefore, please forgive my sin only this once, and entreat the Lord your God, that he may take away from me this death only. Then we see in Exodus 32:32, yet now if you will forgive their sin, but if not, I pray, blot me out of your book which you have written. We have some stuff there again. And we see in, I'm not reading exactly in order, but then if we skipped Joshua and 1 Samuel, 1 Kings, and we stopped a little bit in 1 Kings, and we see here 1 Kings 8:34. Then hear in heaven and forgive the sins of your people Israel, and bring them back to the land which you gave to their fathers. And then we hear in 1 Kings 8:39, we see, then hear in heaven your dwelling place, and forgive and act and give to everyone according to all his ways, whose heart you know, for you alone know the hearts of all the sons of men. And we see in 1 Kings 8:50, and that's going to be the last one I'm going to read, but I'm going to put some more links so that you can read the other verses, or maybe I'll just put the verses there. We see 1 Kings 8:50, and forgive your people who have sinned against you, and all their transgressions which they have transgressed against you, and grant them compassion before those who took them captive, that they may have compassion on them. So we see just there that to forgive is just this huge thing. But honestly, you guys feel it. To forgive someone, forgiveness, to forgive someone there's an incredible weight lifted off of you when you truly forgive. You feel as though you don't have to bear with this burden anymore, you know, of unforgiveness. And I know for me, may be honest once again, I struggle with forgiveness, as I said before. I struggle with forgiveness, wondering if I've really forgiven the person. And sometimes you feel like you forgive them, but then you feel like you go back in time, or they do something to you that reminds you of what they did, and then you just like, have I really forgiven them if I'm still upset? Then sometimes it's a matter of, sometimes you may forgive someone that you really can't trust again because of what they did or didn't do, you know, and then it's like, okay, well, if I forgive them and I can't deal with them because it wouldn't be smart, have I really forgiven them then? So it's just all these different questions that I have regarding forgiveness. I know it's necessary. I know it's something that we are called to do because God forgives us. We should forgive because we are forgiven. But sometimes I just wonder, have I truly forgiven someone? I know there are those who I have forgiven, but then there are those wounds are still there. So I question, if I still feel this pain, have I really forgiven them? That's my struggle with forgiveness and forgiving. How do you guys deal with forgiveness? What is forgiveness to you? And of course, leave your prayer requests, leave your praise reports, and everything else. And God bless you. And I'll see you soon. All right. Peace.